Hi everybody, welcome back. Gosh, I hope y'all had a really nice holiday weekend. I hope you guys got to maybe see some family, see some friends, have a little barbecue or something. We actually got to see family, small family gathering over at my brother's house. It was really nice yesterday. We haven't seen, my dad was there, and we haven't actually seen them in months. So everybody's got their vaccinations and everything, so we got to have a really nice and comfortable and relaxing time together. So it was really fun. So, and we got to eat some wonderful food. Oh, and I think I've mentioned this to you guys, so let me know if anybody wants this recipe, because my son is gluten-free, I'm gluten-free, and we have this Mexican restaurant that we like to go to, that we started going to again, and they had a tres leches cake, which obviously my son and I can't have, and my husband eats it, and it's just, I mean, it's amazing. So anyway, I went out and I went online and I found, because it's one of my favorite cakes, and I found a gluten-free recipe that is easy to make and phenomenal. So if anybody loves that cake and you happen to be gluten-free and you want the recipe, give me a shout out on Facebook Messenger or in our Facebook group or something, and I would be more than happy to send you the recipe, because it is absolutely wonderful. So we made that and we took that with us yesterday, and it was a big hit. So anyway, that is my, I don't know, little bit of tip for the day.
What? If you're looking for your glasses, they're on your head.
Oh, there. Who told you that?
Bunny.
What?
Bunny.
Thank you, Bunny. I forgot they were up there. You know, they're light and they're comfortable. Oh my gosh, I love these glasses. They're anyway, they're very lightweight, and I love them. So I forget about them, and I'm one of those people, I lose them, and so anyway, thank you. That was really sweet. So anyway, we are going to be heading into summer soon. So I don't know. You know, I'm starting to think with every time we do one of these, we're going to have like maybe 2 or 3 people, because the weather's getting really nice and nobody's going to want to give up their evenings to be here with us. But we'll still do them, so that, you know, if you can't make it live, you can always, you know, watch it on the replay. So anyway, when we got home yesterday from my brother's house, I did a walk around the house, and we just got little border flower, you know, flower border gardens around. And so I was kind of walking through there and just enjoying it and seeing what has come into bloom. And it's just so beautiful, and I just love it. And so when I came into the studio today, I thought of that, and it's so gorgeous and sunny outside today. And I just thought, you know what? I want to watercolor, and I want to watercolor some flowers. I just felt like doing something with flowers. And anyway, so I grabbed my lily stamp. I think I worked with this once with you guys here. And so I thought I would work with this again and just do something really bright and really beautiful. And so I'm going to do kind of I guess it's going to be like a no line kind of a watercolor look. And I'm going to use the Karin brush markers. And we're going to use our watercolor paper and some other things. So we're going to get started on that. If Alan will switch the camera. Yep, to 2. And so I'm hoping that you guys are going to be able to to see what is on here. Oh, that must be on my screen. It is. It's on my screen. Sorry. Okay, I'm hoping you guys are going to be able to see what I stamp with, because it's going to be really light. So, oh my God, I'm seeing my hands on the camera, and I forgot to take care of my nails. They look terrible. I broke one really bad here, and I'm not happy about it. But anyway, so lily stamps. I'm not pulling out the dies today, because we're not going to work with dies, but I did grab the lily stamps. This is a 4x6 stamp set. It has everything you need to make a card. You know, it has a border stamp in here. It has your sentiments, a large word, has a cute little bug. This one happens to be a little dragonfly. And then we have these beautiful leaves, and of course the gorgeous lily. And those are going to be the 2 pieces that I'm going to work with today. And on the back we have just a suggestion as to how you can color it up. I'm also planning on using one of the sentiments from Handwritten. This has very quickly become one of my favorite sets. I've worked with the flowers, doing some pirouette stuff, and I've used a lot of these sentiments and different things. I think I'm going to use the wishing you the best sentiment, or maybe I'll use you are loved. I haven't used either of those out of this set yet. So anyway, I'm going to be pulling a sentiment from there. We're also going to be using the watercolor papers. I'm going to be making an A2 card, so I'm going to use the A2. I will give you guys a little sneaky peek. We do have coming up in the near future, I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. We are going to have this coming out in slimline size, in 4x9 size. So just a little sneak peek, coming attractions. But I'm going to be using one of these. It's already cut to A2. And it's wonderful. It is so super smooth. It's a beautiful, beautiful creamy white. It's not yellow white. It's a white, but it's not a stark white. It's really beautiful. And then, of course, one of my staple items is the A2 stitch layered card toppers. I used these. I ended up using the 2 largest dies in here. This is a 3-die set. And so we're going to get started. I'm going to show you, first I'm going to show you what I'm going to make so you know where I'm headed with it. What, Alan? Okay. So yeah. Why don't you go ahead? Well, yeah, go ahead and let's switch the camera to 3. Let me get my little bag of tricks out here. Not the sleeve. Okay. Sorry, let me move things around here. This is my little scrap piece here. So I really don't need a lot for this. This is what we're going to paint tonight. This is what I'm planning on doing. I don't know if we'll have time to get the whole thing done because it did take me a little while. But we'll see. I mean, everything else that I'm going to be doing with it is pretty simple. Worst case, hopefully I will just at least get one of them done and then we can move to this one and then I'll finish it. So hopefully you guys like that. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So, but I do want to show you what I did. So I ended up stamping my my beautiful lily with these 2 colors. This lightest color, these are hybrid inks. So those of you that don't know hybrid inks, a hybrid ink is basically, it's a crossbreed ink. It's a combination pigment and dye ink, so it has, features of both. So I mean, I can stamp with this and I can color with Copic markers. Or alcohol markers. I can stamp with it and then I can paint with watercolors. I can stamp on all kinds of different things. It's really a go-to. So I'm going to be stamping with Pink Tutu for the top portion of my stamp. That's going to give me a very, very light pink edge. I'm actually going to do a 2nd generation stamp. So it's super, super light. That's how I, excuse me, that's how I did it. I'm going to see if that's going to be dark enough for you guys to see. If not, I may not be able to do the 2nd generation, but I will at least show you how it's done in case you've never done it. And that way, when it comes time for you guys to actually, do this on your own, you know how to do it. And then I'm also going to be stamping the leaves with Pistachio, which is a really, really beautiful and light green. So I chose 2 really, really light colors. These are not water soluble, so the color is not going to dissolve into the watercolor paint or dissolve with the water. That's why I'm using colors that are going to just kind of disappear a little bit when I paint over them. So let me get started with this. I'm going to grab a piece of my watercolor paper here. Ooh, looks like I broke that open. So you can see what a beautiful, beautiful white that is. I absolutely love this paper. It's so gorgeous. I'm going to use my larger Misty. This is my, and you know what? Maybe we do need to go back to camera 2 because this is pretty, that's pretty tight. So let me move what I've already done out of the way here. So now I'm going to go ahead and place this so it's portrait. Let me get my stamp. So I'm going to stamp it twice. Here's my stamp. My stamp is black. It's just stained black because the hybrid inks, the darker colors may stain because, like I said, they have a permanent quality about them. It's a combination ink. So the very first one that I'm going to lay down here is going to be kind of on an angle. So I decided that I wanted to have my my flowers up in the corner. And then my idea or my plan is to have my sentiment kind of in this region here. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. There we go. So I have my magnet in place. I've got my little stamp towel ready to go. Now, I'm going to start with stamping the flower, and I've got my pink tutu. This is where I'm going to do kind of a second generation. So I'm just going to come across here and I'm going to ink up the flower up at the top here. I'm going to go ahead and just use my thumb to get rid of any ink that I may have gotten on the leaves. And then I'm going to press it once gently, like that. So I got that on here, right? That was my first generation stamp. This is my second one now. Because I don't want that color to be really strong. So now you can see, you can't see too much of it. And actually, yeah, zoom in. Let's see what we can see here, Alan. You guys can't see very much of that.
Can't see it even live.
Okay, so that's how you would do a second generation, but I think for our purposes, I better not do that because you guys aren't going to be able to see what I'm painting. So I would paint, I can see that fairly well, but I'm going to go ahead and just do, I don't want these to have any more on them. I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it then. So now you can see a little bit better, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead with the green. This is the pistachio. And I'm going to ink up my leaves. But again, I'm going to remove any green ink that I have on the flower petals. You could do this with a cloth if you want. Or you could mask it off, you know, with tape and stamp it first, but don't worry about it. So again, I would do that second generation. So I think you can see it a little bit. I'm trying not to get too much ink on it. I'm just dabbing it really lightly. But this pistachios aplenty is a very, very light green, which is really nice. There we go. So now we can see we have it stamped in the two colors. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to position my stamp. This is what I did. I just positioned it. I kind of turned it a little bit so that it didn't look exactly the same. And I positioned it again like so. Didn't want to get any of the leaves on there. There we go. It's kind of up in the corner there. And all I need is that pink tutu. And which side is it? All right, so it's this side that I have to ink up over here. So again, I would have done second generation so it didn't come out so bright. You know, you don't always have to do it second generation. I like to do it that way just because that way I can get super, super soft with color on the ends. Because again, it's not going to dissolve into the water. Where's the other stamp? What am I doing? Okay. So then I wanted to have some more leaves. And so what I did is I grabbed this little leaf stamp. And then I just added some more leaves next to it. There we go, nice and light and pretty. All right. A nice thing too about the hybrid inks is you can layer your color up. So, you know, some of the colors, like the Pistachios Aplenty, it's designed to be a really, really soft, soft green, very, very light. If I do want it darker, I can just stamp it, you know, a couple times over and it will get darker. But it is intentionally light. We've got a few of the colors in there that are supposed to be really, really soft. Because I wanted really, really light colors. That's all there is to it. All right. All right, so from here, I'm going to get, now I've always got, you know, my little moist towel thing here. I've got my water. I've got, what else do I have here? Got my Karin markers, all right? These are the Karin Brush Marker Pro. I have the 72 box. I'm using 5 colors in this. So if you wanted to write these down, you can go ahead. I've got, to begin with, I start with magenta. Is that camera 3, Alan?
That's 2.
All right, let's go to 3 real quick. Okay. So the first color is magenta, and we're going to stay here so for when I paint. So the first color is magenta. One color up from that is magenta red. We use that very, very minimally. You don't even have to have it, but I used it a little bit. For the little stamens of the flower, I use pale orange. And then for the leaves, I started with apple, and then I went to olive green. So these are the only colors. I'm going to start with magenta, so I'm going to put the other colors off to the side. I have 2 brushes here. My first one is my standard. This is my 000. It's a round water brush. This is my 000, my favorite one. You can see how the little paint is coming off of there because it's the one that I use all the time. This one happens to be Winsor Newton, my favorite. And then this is a, excuse me, what is happening to me? Anna, would you go get me a cough drop, please? So this is a 00. This is also Winsor Newton, Winsor and Newton. That's me being lazy, Winsor Newton. And this is a 00, also a round. So I like to use round when I'm watercoloring. So these are the 2 brushes I'm going to be using. And then I've got my cloth that I always have because this helps me to control the amount of water that I'm using. It helps me to brush off and clean my brush and so on and so forth. So I'm going to start off. This is my little color swatch. This is where I just tested my colors. I'm not actually going to be using this, but I just tested the colors to see what I was going to end up working with, and I ended up with the magenta, and then I have the magenta red is here, and then there is that beautiful pale orange, and then here's the 2 greens. I didn't end up using these other 2 colors. They just didn't work for me. So this is how I kind of swatch them, so I see how they look together and what my combination is going to be. So on my glass mat here, and I don't know if you guys noticed, I did put the link out there on the Facebook group for the glass mat. Because it's a glass mat, I can just put some color down. And I'm going to start now. You're not going to necessarily see these lines. They're not going to disappear as well with the color because I didn't second generation the stamp, because I really wanted you guys to be able to actually see what I'm working on. But I'm going to just go ahead and fill in with some water, 1 petal at a time. You guys have seen me do this before. I'm just going to get a fair amount of water and just fill in this petal. Just going to move that color around, and as I pull it through, notice I started up at the darkest area in that center there, and as I pull this color around, I grab a little bit more water, and I'm just kind of fading it out at the end to almost white. I'm going to leave that little bit of that underbelly of the flower there. Thank you, honey. Oh, that's good.
This one.
Huh?
Might be better. That one.
What?
Is this honey lemon?
No, I don't like the honey lemon. The lemon is good. Sorry, he's got me. He came up here with variety of cough drops. That's my guy. All right, so let's put some color in here. I'm going to darken that just a little bit. And just move that out with the water. There we go. So we're going to let that dry. Blend that a bit. And I'm going to move on to another petal. So I'm going to put some water down first on that petal. And I'm only doing one layer. I'm not doing the edge here, and I'm not doing that little kind of loopy area. I'm going to get some color, put that down. You can already see it moving through there. It's just beautiful. Move the paper around so that you're comfortable working on it. I like to pull the color toward me. I find I get better results with it when I pull it rather than push it. There we go. Ooh, Peggy is asking, are you going to get the large set of card markers back in stock? That's a really good question. Alan, can you do me a favor, please? Send me a little note because I keep forgetting about that. I have to get that ordered. So yes, Peggy, we will get that back in stock. I've been so focused on new collections and stuff that I haven't been able to think as much about restocking things that we need to restock. So I got a little more color up in here than I wanted, so I'm going to push that back out into the darker area. There we go. So if you notice, I'm not, like, I started down here, then I went to the one opposite while this one dried, went up here. While that dried, I came back down to this one. I'm not working side by side. This one should be dry enough now for me to work on this one next door. So I'm going to come in here with a little bit of water. Not too much. You don't want it to, you don't want a big pool of water. And then I'm going to turn this, get some of that paint off of there. And I'm going to push some of that color back out. So I think we have a pretty good start going. While that dries, I really don't have a place to go on that, so I'm going to move over to here. This is kind of how I kind of jump around a little bit because I want to make sure that I allow ample time for the areas to dry because I don't want them to just start blending and bleeding together. So now I'm going to kind of push in the other direction just a little bit because I want to leave some white, almost white, at the very tip of this petal. Keep it a little bit softer. So pretty. All right, so next I'm going to come down here to the bottom, and I'm going to add a little bit of color right up in here, just a little. Rinse off, and then I'm going to pull that right down into the bottom there. So it's really, I mean, it's really about just kind of patience, I guess. I'm going to move up to this little area here. Too much water. If you see a pool, little puddle of it like that, brush off. So I'm drying off my brush. I'm actually going to come in here and pick up water with the brush and then move it off again. Teeny tiny little bit. I'm going to get some more color in here. Now I'm going to put this color more up at the top. It's darker at the top. Pull this down so we can kind of fade out a little bit. There we go. Really soft. It's just the beginning. Let me get the center here. There we go, a little bit of color. All right. I'm going to move, get a little bit over here, and then I'm going to show you how to add that beautiful deep color at the base of, like, the center of the flower. Isn't that pretty? I got one more little spot here. It's going to drive me nuts if I don't get these little areas. There we go. There we go. Very, very pale, pale pink. And those little highlighted areas. Barely pink. All right. Next, this was the first one that I did here. So I'm going to add some water in this area. And now I'm going to dot in some color. Let that move in the water a bit. Maybe help it out a tiny little bit if you need to. Smooth out the little ends a little bit. Add a little bit more if you want. I know it seems like a lot, but I'm going to kind of maneuver it. There we go. Sorry, I know I get quiet when I paint. And then just I get a little focused, a little I start to concentrate on what I'm doing. And I'm just trying to move that color out so it starts to kind of form a little bit of a shape so it looks like it's going out. Here's where I would take my smaller brush, my 000, and get a little bit of that color. And I'm gonna, ooh, wait a minute, I have fuzz on it. This is where I would bring a tiny, tiny little bit right around that line. A little bit of water, and now I'm going to soften that and just kind of blend that out a bit. There we go. And I'm going to soften this here where I put that little bit of color and move that around so you see the shape. This is what starts to make that pink line kind of disappear. Kind of trace it ever so gently. With the color of the paint. And then that kind of helps to make it go away and blend in a bit. You can see when I just do that little bit with the tip of that small little brush, now you can start to see how you get some of the shape without being too heavy on the lines. And it's just gorgeous. So I'm going to go in now and I'm going to come into this one and I'm going to add some water in here. And I'm still working with the same color. This is that magenta. And I'm going to start pulling that around. If I want it a little bit stronger, I go right into my color on the board and I pull it around. I'm going to come up under here with a little bit of it. And while I have very little on my brush, I'm going to go along this line, this bottom line. Isn't that pretty? So gorgeous. I'm going to add a little bit here where you can see the lines of the petal that we stamped, right? By bringing this in right up around those lines, it almost changes the color of the line that you stamped and it makes it fit right in with what you have, with what you're painting. So it makes it kind of disappear. So you don't, I guess my point here is that you don't have to have water soluble inks in order to do, in order to stamp and do no line coloring or no line painting. Let's do one more over here. All I'm doing is putting water down right now. And now I'm just kind of dotting in my color. And you can see it moving around in that water. It's just beautiful. Just going to push it a bit and help it out. Blend that out a bit. Now, if I want to go a little bit darker, I can. That's when I can grab this magenta red and I can get a little more serious with it. And it gives me a little more depth of color in the center there. All right, so you see the difference in that? It just adds like another layer. If I want to put some of that in here, into this one, this other petal over here, just to kind of deepen that and enrichen it a bit. But I would do that minimally. In fact, I did do it minimally. I'm going to come up to the top here. And with my magenta, there we go. Let me fix this a little bit. As it starts to dry, you can kind of see if it's blending or not. I always pay a lot of attention to that because I want to make sure it doesn't go too strong on me. I like to pull the color out so we have a little more of a graduation of color. And then I'll come back up here before this dries. Pull this around. Do you have any questions from anybody? Is everybody really quiet?
Not real quiet, but talking among themselves.
Ah, okay. Pull this out a little more. There we go. So this is what I do. I just keep kind of fussing with it and moving that color around and try and get some of those little curves in it to go with this, with the same curve as the petal. Isn't that pretty? I think it's gorgeous. There we go. So I would keep fussing like that until I got to here. And it's going to look different every single time you do it too. So next up, while that's all drying, I'm going to move to the green. So I would keep doing that on all the petals, just what I did with those. And then I'm going to move on to the green. And so I like to start, even when I'm painting, I like to start light to dark. So I'm going to clean off my brush really well. And I'm only going to work with my smallest little brush here. So I'm going to put some water down, just a little bit. This color is Apple. And I'm literally just going to paint some of this in. Very, very soft. Cindy is saying, how do you know where the best spot is to highlight? I think about the highs and the lows, and I think about where the light's coming from. And so when it's curving in, like in the center into here, it's going to be further away from the light. And so that's going to be kind of a lower point. And then as it comes up and goes around, it's reaching out toward the light or toward the sun as it goes out. So that's where it's going to catch more light. And then as it dips down around underneath here, it's going to be darker because it's kind of curved under. Oh, I just noticed this did not blend out very well over here. Let me blend that out. If you have an area like this right here, by the way, where it looks like I let it dry and I didn't pay attention, it didn't blend out very well, I'm going to go ahead. So this is an area where it's kind of curving away. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of color back in here. I want to keep it light, but I want to blend some of that out. And that's one of the things I like about this paper with the Karin markers too, is it gives me that flexibility. I can kind of come back in and fix something, and I like that a lot. I have a little bit of time still to work with it. So this is where I would add a little bit. This, you can see how this is, it's almost got like a crease. So we're going to have a low point on one side of that crease. And so just add a little bit of color into that because it's kind of coming together. And so that's going to shadow. Looks like I went out of the line over here. But you know what? The nice thing about no line is I can actually create a different shape to that since I went out of the line a bit. But yeah, think about, and this is another suggestion I have too about the lighting. Take a look around nature. When I started painting and I started coloring, I was almost obsessed, I would say, for quite some time with actually looking at colors in nature and paying attention to where the light was, like, where the light was hitting things. Walk around your garden if you want to look at flowers. If you want to look at, if you want to know what color, you're really going to find in the sky, for example. The sky isn't just blue and white. The sky's got beautiful purples, aqua. You're going to find a little bit of green in the sky as well. But pay attention to those and look actually in nature and check and see how things are shadowing or how things are hitting. If you think about, if you're looking at, like if you have light above you, just hold your hand out and look at where the light's hitting your hand, what the color looks like there, and what the difference in color is underneath it. That's how you can kind of get a feel for where shadows are going to be going. Donna is saying, how long is an acceptable amount of time to allow a color to dry before going back in? I have a problem with the colors turning brown. Yes. You know what? I work my way around. I work my way around the painting. It's really going to have to do with how much water you add in. That's why I'm very, very careful. I don't add a lot of water. The more water you add, the longer it's going to take to dry. You also want to watch the amount of water because depending on the paper that you use, your paper can only take so much water, right? So, I mean, even watercolor paper, it's designed to take water, to hold water, but they all have a limit, and some are better than others. Some are going to have a pill point that, is going to be much sooner, where it starts to pill before others. This paper, I can tell you, is not going to pill very easily. It accepts a lot of water. That's why I like this so much. I can go back and do layers, but I do not puddle my water on there for two reasons. One, each spot, even when it dries, that means it's still accepted water, right? So that changes the property of that paper in that area. And it's only going to accept so much water in one area. So I put it on light And I work my way around, and I will do like one layer around and get the whole thing done with that layer, but I will bounce back and forth to different areas so that I'm not putting water next to where I just put water. If you want to know if it's dry, put your hand on it. If that paper is cool to the touch, it's still got water on it. It's still cooling. All right, so that is my little bit of green there. So now I started up in here, right? So this is my first point. So I put my color down, or my water down. I'm gonna come in with a tiny bit of this green. This is my second green. This is olive green. This goes a long, long way. So I fill up my brush with water. I'm gonna dab it off because I don't want a lot. And I'm gonna move this around.
Bunny pointed out that your colors match your towel, and I think every time you watercolor,
My colors match my
your
towel. Do I use these colors a lot?
You must.
I think I'm using different shades of pink.
Maybe, but they always seem to match the towel.
That's funny.
I know.
Well, no, they don't always match the towel. I've used purple. I've used blue.
I don't know about that.
I have the cards.
Prove it.
I can prove it because I still have the cards.
I see what the one you're talking about.
You do? You mean I'm not lying?
Well, it's got green.
I'm going to come in here with this beautiful, beautiful dark green. And I'm just going to move that around a tiny little bit. Add some water and let it move a bit on its own as well. Push that back down. Keep that dark color in the base of it. Look how pretty. All right, so I'm not gonna do this stem here because that's right next to that one, right? So now I'm gonna kind of cross over and I'm gonna do the outside portion of this leaf here. Put a little bit of water down. Because it's so thin, let's clean that up. Because that's so thin, I'm actually going to put the water down with the brush first and see how we do. That's going to be my first layer there. All right. Just dot that in a little bit. Now I am going to come up here with this kind of lime green. And I'm just going to kind of outline this a bit. Get something on there. So I've got just that really, really light green on my brush. That's the, what is it called? Apple? Is it apple? Yeah, it's apple. That's what I had on my brush there, just to outline that a bit. And now I have a little bit of water, and I'm just going to kind of soften that. Tiny little bit of water. Bring some of that apple in here. Really pretty. This is just the apple right down into here. I am going to get a tiny little bit of this darker green right up there, because I'd like to have I'd like to have the variation of color on them. So now I'm going to go to this stem. And I'm just going to come halfway down. I've got my water on it. Couple little dots. You can already see how gorgeous it is when it just touches down and starts to move. Isn't that so pretty? Oh, I love it. So I'm going to finish this stem, and then I'm going to show you how I did the stamens. So I just have a little bit of water there, a couple little dots. I do want to add a little bit of this darker green right in here, just to show that twist. Isn't that pretty? Gorgeous. Love it. So I would continue all around on that whole thing that way. Next up, this whole area is quite dry now. So for those stamens, I actually went in just with my pale orange here. I don't know how well this is going to cover it, only because I have, it's not second generation stamping right now. So I don't want a tremendous amount of water on my brush. But I've got, this is my 000, and I literally went just right over the top with my yellow, with this pale orange, right over the stamens just like this. I didn't want the stamens to be black. I think this created a little more of a softer look to them. Just like that. And it actually looks a lot better, like I said, when I had the second generation stamping. So they look a little more yellow. Then I also, one more thing I did was I added some of this yellow in on the edges, so it wasn't just pink. So for example, I took a tiny little bit, and maybe right up in here I added a little bit of that yellow. Look at the little bit of a glow that it gives you. If I put a tiny little bit of that right in here, for example. Isn't that pretty? Just that little hint of an additional color in there. It's just so pretty. Maybe up underneath there. And I like the yellow as an accent too. I think it's really nice. Just kind of a little bit of a glow. I didn't finish this one up here, but add a little bit of a gold into there too. It's really nice and pretty. So I would just keep going with the same thing that I've been showing you, and work my way all around on that. Let me put this over here for you, Alan. All right. So the next step, once you get through the whole thing, this is where I ended up, right here. All right, and you can see no two are alike. I would do, like, my leaves are much darker on this one, so you can tell I've gone back over them with a couple of layers. So I have 2 layers on here right now. I would probably go over it with another layer, and all of this would really richen up and you know, have more more pronounced highlights and lowlights to it as I kept going all around and filled in. What do you think?
Okay.
Okay, so next up was to create a really simple card with it. So I grabbed, because I didn't want too much to be happening, so, oh, let me wipe this up here. I grabbed my A2 stitched layered card toppers, and I chose, here's the 3 dies here, and they go like this. So they all nest beautifully, perfectly spaced, gorgeous, simple yet elegant stitching on them. So with the largest one, it actually has the blade on the outside, so it cuts the entire A2, plus gives you that gorgeous stitching in there. So I cut just out of some craft that I had. That's with the largest die, and then with the second die, I cut out my my beautiful lilies. You can see I went right up into the corner of it, and because I didn't want to lose any of it. And then this way, it also makes it so that my color goes right into that beautiful border. I like that as opposed to cutting it first with a die and then stamping on it and trying, and painting and everything. I like cutting it afterwards because then I can position it in the die to see exactly where it is and how it's going to be placed in there. So, so I painted first and then I did that. So we do need to have a sentiment on here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that in place. And I'm going to combine one of these, and I think I'm going to do wishing you the best. Or should I do you are loved? All right, let's do this. I'm going to see how they're going to look. Wishing you the best would go here, which I think works very nicely. You are loved. It might seem maybe a little small for that space. I'm going to go with wishing you the best. That was my original thought, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get this positioned. Where do I want it? No, I think it's too crowded if I put it up high. Really neat thing is, if you look at this, the font is kind of, I don't know, it kind of goes all over. So it's not like perfectly straight in any way, which is really kind of nice. So if you don't get yours perfectly straight, it's not going to matter. All right. First time I'm using it, so it might take a couple times to ink it up. But I'm going to use my Raven Hybrid ink. It's a really beautiful, gorgeous, crisp, deep black. I love it. Got my Stampendable ready to go. And like I said, I might have to do this a couple of times because it's the first time I'm stamping, or maybe not. I mean, that came out pretty perfect. Maybe a tiny little light area. Shoot. Oh my God. My ink pad went flying. That could have been disastrous. Oh, did everybody catch their breath on that one? Oh my gosh. I think my heart skipped a beat. That was almost really bad. There we go. Okay. That could have ruined that really bad.
If we could find a way to rewind craft when you make a mistake.
Yes, wouldn't that be nice? Now that would be a great tool.
That would be a great tool, yeah.
A rewind tool. Oops. Look how pretty. So cute. I love it. All right, so let's get this put away. I love the font on these sentiments. It's just so gorgeous. Get this put away. It's pretty, so pretty. All right, So this is going to be very easy and quick to put together. Where's my little foam tape roll? All right, maybe not quick. Alan, where's my foam? Here it is. Here's my foam.
What's left of it?
Yep, what's left of it. What's that? Oh. Okay. So I'm going to remind everybody while I'm doing this, we have a giveaway. So if you haven't left a comment, get your comment out there, because if we don't know you're here, we can't choose your name. And I think the giveaway is actually this time, I think we're going to give away one of the handwritten stamp sets, because that has so quickly become one of my favorites. I love it. So that's going to be our giveaway today. So I'm just really simply placing this on a little bit of foam on top of a little bit of craft cardstock. Let me make sure it's straight. And then I've got my card base here that is already scored, but for some reason I didn't fold it. So I do have it scored. And for some reason I didn't finish that. I don't know what happened there. I am sorry, we're going over just a little bit. Let me get this on the card front. And then I think we have a beautiful, elegant, whimsical. Can it be elegant and whimsical? I don't know, it is. I think it can be.
Well,
I think it is a little whimsical. We have elegance and whimsy in here. We have whimsy in the sentiment, elegance in the floral.
It's like a mullet.
Oh my gosh, it's not like a mullet. Goofball, there's nothing elegant about a mullet.
Isn't there something that's business and...
Yeah, this isn't business in the front and party in the back. You goofball. So here it is. This is the finished look. Yay. I like it. I think it's so pretty. All right, Alan. Camera one.
Camera one.
Yay. There it is. My hair's in my eyes. All right, so anyway, here it is. I think it's so pretty. I hope you enjoyed this. You know, I always feel bad when I can't do like the full-on, the entire card in watercolor, but we would be here a little too long because it does take me a little bit longer because I'd like to do it in layers and I like to be, you know, very careful about it. But I hope you learned a little bit about doing some no line and, you know, and stamping with the color that you're similar to what you're going to be coloring or painting with. That's going to help you get some no-line coloring in there, and then also a second generation stamp is going to help you with that as well too. So I hope you guys like this. I think it's really pretty. Okay, time to draw a winner. Me still hunt?
Yeah.
Hope you guys got a comment out there or something. Everybody's been so quiet lately. At least with me, I don't get to see all your questions anymore. What's the prize is the handwritten stamp set. Yay! Bonnie! Bonnie, you have won the 4x6 handwritten stamp set. Yay! I love this set. I hope you're going to love this too. It's so versatile. I love it. The fonts are amazing. The florals are beautiful. So congratulations, Bonnie. I need you to do me a favor, please. Send your complete name and your mailing address to customerservice@ldrscreative.com, and we will get your handwritten stamp set out to you right away. Congratulations, Bunny! Woo, woo, woo! Yay! All right, everybody, that is it today. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys learned a little bit. Hopefully you had some fun, and you know, if you didn't enjoy me, hopefully you got to converse a little bit with some of your friends.
They come here just to hear me.
They come here just to hear you. All right, everybody, until Thursday. We'll be back Thursday night, 7 p.m., same time, same place, and I hope you guys will be able to join us. Thanks so much. Have a good night.